which are heavy. So by definition, I'm bad. And therefore, EPR applies to me more stringently than other companies. And what have we done to address it, right? And where is the metrics to measure it? Where is the costing to measure it also we'll talk in this session. Regulatory compliance. So before regulatory compliance, there are two reports which I would recommend all of us read. The Niti Aayog has something called as Circular Economy Cell. There's nothing in the Circular Economy Cell website except one presentation. It's about 50 slides. Beautifully covers what is circular economy and each industry-wise challenges as far as circular economy is concerned, including what we spoke about, statewide or municipal waste management. Everything is covered in that Niti Aayog presentation. The second report which I recommend is the Expert Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister's Office has a report on circular economy. This is available in public domain. It's a 51 page report, but brilliantly covers all the aspects relating circular economy, including the opportunities for MSMEs in circular economy. So if you have some time, have a look through this. This is our plant by day and night. So the first thing which, you look at, there is water. There is water. There's tremendous amount of water around the plant. This is a reservoir. We now draw no water from the rivers. MRPL used to have a humongous challenge with water. In a coastal area, water is precious. Coastal areas, water is precious. So we used to always have challenges with the district collector. So we have now a desalination plant inside the plant. And even in the power sector, the only emission which now happens because of something called combined cycle, where the heat generated is used to make steam, and steam also runs the engine, a parallel engine. So combined cycle of natural gas, fired power plant with steam generated in combined cycle utilizes that steam also. The only water waste we generate is by natural evaporation, which goes into the clouds. Most power plants in the future will have zero, rather, the goal is to have zero water wastage other than evaporation loss. This is the future. And there are plants, for example, the plant which we operate in Tripura. Tripura, how many of you know where Tripura is on the map of India? We know it's northeast, but do you know where it is actually? It's 13 kilometers from Bangladesh border. Agartala is 13 kilometers from the state capital, is 13 kilometers from the Bangladesh border. So you can actually walk across the border post. And we supply power to Bangladesh also. Some challenges there, but nonetheless, one of the cleanest natural, okay, let me rephrase. This is the only possibly natural gas-based power plant working in India right now, operational in India right now, because of challenges with pricing of natural gas. We have a long-term contract with ONGC, and therefore, being its subsidiary, we have a natural advantage. But otherwise, running a natural gas power plant is cleaner than a thermal power plant by definition. It's cleaner than a thermal power plant. How do we measure it? There are 36 plants in the periphery of the plant. 36 specific designated plant by the Pollution Control Board, which is planted in the plant premises to see is it blooming. If it blooms, environment is clean. And there are rice paddies adjacent. Tripura is known for its rice. Rice paddies adjacent, and growth of rice paddies is assurance to the power plant. This is on emission standards, which are retail. Yeah. So these are things which unknowingly we in India are way ahead in terms of green consciousness in the government. I think as a CMA community and accounting community, we need to upskill ourselves to see what's happening in the government. And I'll try and delve upon certain specific policies of the government. So, how much time do I have, Ajit? It's 4:15. 4:45? So, I'm wearing a HMT watch, by the way. So, I don't have consume any power, solar or otherwise. Yeah. So, then, cost management. There are certain terms here which I'm sure all of you CMS are used to. Life cycle costing. Life cycle costing. In any plant, the major cost is generally there after the plant has its gestation. For example, in a crude oil, in a refinery, forget a refinery, in a crude oil well, the cost is afforestation and replenishing the environment the way it was before this plant, oil well was done. That cost is quite significant. And that cost is in the future, 20, 25 years into the future. So generally what happens when costing happens in any oil field, the costing is for cost of today. There is no costing for cost of tomorrow. You'll be surprised. Government now wants you to put cost of tomorrow in your price. Life cycle cost. Then activity-based costing. Good example of this is in the refinery. You can imagine that refinery, there is heat. When there is heat, there is carbon. The same carbon, there's a beautiful plant in near Rajkot, I forget the name, IOC, Indian Oil Corporation's plant in Rajkot, where the entire carbon emission which comes out of the plant is captured. Carbon capture, utilization and storage is the new thing which is happening, right? Carbon capture, utilization and storage. Kohila, I forget, it's a very Gujarati term. Pandya sir may help me with the place, but and that carbon which is captured is used by ONGC to replenish, rejuvenate, old wells which are not performing. So, for example, when crude oil, how does crude work? Crude slides, and in some natural indentation, it's captured, and there's a well created. We dig, and when we recover oil, right? At some point, what happens? The sludge slippage is slow. So we dig a well parallel, and we inject carbon, high pressure carbon, high pressure thermal, sometimes steam also, and sometimes there are 3 or 4 ways in doing it, but carbon and thermal are major. The carbon generated as emission from an Indian oil plant is now used by ONGC in their Vadodara wells for enhanced oil recovery, EOR. So within the oil and gas sector, there is a circular economy. Karnataka, 1998, we started a plant in Torangaluru. Torangaluru gottala? Bellary district. District Bellary or District Bellary. Hospet and Bellary. He's from Bellary. He's very angry now if I say the Bellary district. Hospet, Bellary, Madhya, the Torangaluru. That was the first. We are fortunate. There are 3 companies which collaborated. One is Jindal, obviously, which is the main power plant or steel plant. Argon gas generated from the steel manufacturing process captured, fired the gas-based power plant in Jindal Tractable, and all other emissions were bagged in Jindal Praxair. So it was almost like an integrated ecosystem where waste of steel was used by power plants and for carbon capture and also oxygen capture in Praxair. So that ecosystem in Karnataka was one of the first. That thermal power plant was the second in the world which had 3 fuel. It was gas-based, liquid fuel, and thermal of coal. That plant could run on all 3. So, circular economy is not new to us in Karnataka. We have known this in the past, but I think from a cost accounting and reporting perspective, we need to just rediscover our roots and find how to put this down in our reports. EPR ESG compliance cost. Is there compliance cost? Yes, there is compliance cost. For example, ESG, there is compliance cost. 30% of all procurement of certain categories of products has to come necessarily from MSMEs as far as the PSU is concerned. And this is reported. This is audited by the CAG. And these reports have a role of the CMAs. In your report, funnily, there's 2 things which are missing from your cost audit report. I don't know. One is what is coming from MSMEs in a large corporate. Your report cannot be standard for all corporates. It has to move with the times and it has to change with certain categories of reports. So if you say that this is procurement mandated by the government of India as far as procurement by PSUs is concerned, these run into thousands of crores. Thousands of crores. The ecosystem in Bangalore itself, for example, you look at the ecosystem in Bangalore, BL, BHEL, earlier ITI, now HAL. These 3 companies itself are humongous opportunity as far as MSMEs is concerned. Do they report their procurement from MSMEs in their cost audit report is a question. And also, what is the circular economy, contributions? There are ways in which you can report circular economy contributions as far as major EPRs are concerned, producers are concerned. And I'll tell you what are these, what can come in the reports, as and when we go through these slides. Material cost. These I'll just leave this presentation with you for paucity of time, but two or three things which I will say is EPR compliance cost versus trade-off. Uh, Complying with a producer obligation, me as a producer, my obligation, whatever I have to incur to comply with it, and the revenues or savings which I get from recovery has to be reported somewhere, because the investor, everybody is an investor. For example, even large multinationals have investments in it by financial institutions and all that. So they're tracking what your reporting is. And if you are unable to disclose what is your EPR obligation vis-a-vis cost savings, if at all there is any cost savings, and I'll tell you what cost savings are possible. I used AI to generate this. ChatGPT cost me $20 a month, which is less than KGF2 ticket. Yeah, $20 a month. And this is what I generate. For example, ONGC, I'll discuss with all of this. Zero glass flaring. If ONGC invested 500 crores, their annual cost savings is 200 crores. Why? Flared gas is waste gas. Flare means if when the natural production happens of natural gas, it's emitting, it's coming out at certain pace and velocity. And if I'm unable to bag it or contain it, it's flared. If it's flared, it's environmentally negative. But if I'm able to capture it, then I save money. If I'm able to save. Beautiful example. There's some, if you have some time, Google saw something called Discovered Small Field, DSF, Policy of Government of India. Discovered Small Field Policy of Government of India. They said anybody with a turnover or a capital of 10 crores or 15 crores, depending on DSF 1, DSF 2, you can apply for discovered small field. You can buy a field, license a field from ONGC. These are discovered fields. Well is dug, pipeline is ready, everything is there. All you have to do is plug and play, supply it to the nearest refinery. DSF made a lot of money for a lot of people in Northeast, especially. In South India, it is not making money because of environmental issues and challenges vis-a-vis political and other things. But otherwise, in the Northeast, DSF is a major source of revenue for, I will say, medium enterprises, not large, medium enterprises. And all of this goes in cost savings. For example, plastic waste to road. IOCL has major initiatives for fly ash to road, plastic waste to road. All these initiatives cost money, and these monies are recovering. Look at the payback period: 1.5, 2.5, 2.5, and all that. These are great payback periods. Great payback periods, yeah. So I go back now. Let me skip this. Waste minimization. In how do you use your waste? Is there money in waste? Some numbers, I think in the first earlier session it was mentioned. I just looked at the report of Government of India just during the break now. Just in substitute waste, which means I use waste and I make something out of it as a substitute, right? $1.7 trillion opportunity in 2050 by PMO. Prime Minister's office is saying this. 1.7 trillion. If I recover waste and enhance its utilization, 1.3 trillion opportunity. If I lengthen the waste cycle, if the waste cycle is lengthened, just lengthen the waste cycle, $900 billion opportunity. If I just monetize waste, which means buy and sell, $600 billion opportunity. Today's newspaper would see that the Deputy CM of Karnataka said that garbage is a mafia in Bengaluru. You wonder why. Try and lift dry waste from your apartment complex yourself and sell it. Try and lift apartment complex dry waste and sell it. I will challenge you. That itself is the answer. It's a mafia. This is the kind of money which is there in waste. Yeah. Reuse of building field, recycling process water. Why I say this is none of this is measured today. None of this is measured today. For example, byproduct utilization, sulfur, H2S, major emission. But if I'm able to take sulfur out of it, there is money in it. H2S is a major emission, hydrogen sulfide. But if I take sulfur out of it, there's money in it. What is the opportunity loss by emitting? And is there money to be made in this? Biofuels. There's a project of Government of India called Gobardhan, which is, I just wrote it down because Hindi doesn't come naturally to me. So I just wrote down what this is. It is Galvanizing organic bioagro resources done. Galvanizing organic bioagro resources done. There are 198 bag methane projects in India currently operating. One of the earliest was in Karnataka, in Tiptur district, rather Tumkur district, Tiptur. There's a company called Akshay Kalpa. How many of you heard of Akshay Kalpa? You heard, right? Dr. Reddy started it, and I was on the board for a very short time. But Akshay Kalpa, what they do, the waste which a cow or the cow dung is used to generate methane. Methane is bagged, and that bagged methane, you should see this. Every farm is a 5-acre plot. In that, whatever the cow needs is grown, and whatever the cow eats and the waste generated there is stored, and the methane is bagged. It's a big green bag like this, and that powers the farmer's house. Integrated ecosystem. This I'm saying in 2010, 2012. Circular economy. So it's a self-contained unit. The farmer's house is self-contained unit. Minimum 5 acreage. You can participate in Akshay Kalpa program and do this. Yeah, Govardhan. Carbon capture and storage. We talked about this. The money in the carbon capture. The problem is, unless you convert that money into barrel of oil or barrel of oil equivalent in US dollar terms, you are unable to communicate to the investor or the financial institution or the analyst or anybody else. Unless I'm able to capture these costs, and how do I capture these costs? Each stage, for example, if the entire production life cycle of oil is concerned, then I have to identify where waste is generated or where carbon is emitted, where H2S is emitted, and costing for that emission, and opportunity cost for that emission, and also putting it in a barrel of oil or US dollar equivalent. Then there is money to be made as an analyst, as a financial investor. Unless we do that, very difficult. It's very difficult to convince also. You tell the board that I want to set up a desalination plant in MRPL because every year I cannot go to the DC for permission for this much TMC of water. Very difficult to convince the board. The independent directors mostly are not from Karnataka generally, for sure, won't understand the challenges which are there in the local environment, and they will say this is an excessive cost, waste of time, waste of money. But if you convince them on the validity of a desalination plant, it will work. That's a good example. Waste to energy conversion revenue. What is the revenue there? What is the cost there? Payback period, like we discussed. All the payback periods can now be measured using AI tools. I'm not doing it. I'm just asking ChatGPT on 5. I know these projects because before this session, I asked ONGC for all their CE projects. I asked IOCL for all their CE. It access gives you a lot of information, but AI generates the payback period. It's so easy. It's brilliantly easy. I was shocked by the results which AI throws up. Power sector. Let me come to specific examples. Are there standards? These are standards. And the World Business Council, Ellen MacArthur's this thing is something called cyclotrix or cyclometrics or something like that for a circular economy. Circulotrix. There's a very beautiful term called circulotrix and now measurement tools for circular economies. Very good read if you have some time for it. BRSR, scary for an independent director on the board of a listed company. Very scary. BRSR is a very scary term. But when you look at it, let me just go to BRSR. Let me see if that slide is updated. I put on this slide. Yeah. It's quite simple. Scope 1, direct emissions. If I'm in the power sector, I'm emitting directly. Scope 2, indirect emission. I buy power, the emission is embedded power. Yeah. Central Electricity Authority has data. If you want per gigawatt how much it is, per megawatt how much it is, they give you. Measurable data is available, spend-based method. Yeah. Water footprint. Groundwater Authority guidelines are there. Water footprint. Energy footprint. Power consumption, renewable or non-renewable sources. If you don't know where it's coming from, you can get certification. Is it coming from renewable? Is it coming from non-renewable? Renewable means solar, wind, what do you say? Sometimes battery-enabled storage systems. BESS is also renewable today. BESS, a good example of BESS is Guwahati. So, Guwahati, in Assam, capital of Assam, has a 230 megawatt BESS plant. They're going to put up a 230 megawatt plant. So if the grid fails, the battery kicks in. So the city is 24/7 power. Northeast generally is 24/7 power. Northeast generally is 24/7 power. They don't have power cuts like we see here. There's no power cut in the Northeast. Gas based. Why? Tripura gas surplus. I can't bring that gas, pipe that gas to North India. So what do? I set up a power plant in Northeast. And that power plant supplies the entire Northeast and Bangladesh also. Yeah. So Northeast doesn't see, but what they have done is they have integrated their battery systems so that if the grid fails, then the battery kicks in up to 4 hours. Imagine up to 4 hours of 230 megawatt battery for Guwahati system and integrate renewable power. Renewable power is erratic. Solar is erratic, daytime only. Yeah, so these challenges batteries help you. So BESS in Guwahati is a very good example of this. Now, is it circular economy? Why is it circular economy? Because the person who's setting up is a EPR, is a power plant. A power plant company is setting up BESS to ensure that the entire life cycle of his power supply, and they have subsidiaries in transmission and distribution. Another major loss is transmission and distribution. So efficiencies in transmission and distribution